welcome back to the Suraj Podcast. In this episode, we are carrying on with the battle. In the previous episode, we talked about how the Sikhs were carving into the Mughal forces here. And Jodhrai, amongst other Sikhs like Bidhi Chand and the Brahmin Malak Jati, were also commanders who were taking forces and cutting into the Mughal forces. So that's where chapter 51 picks up. In Jodhrai, having received orders from Guru Hargobind, is now carving into the Mughal forces. He's also with his brother Saleem Shah as well. So Lala Beg is now even more furious, seeing that his younger brother Kambur Beg was killed, and now the Sikhs are making heavy gains into the Mughal ranks here. So Lala Beg is surrounded by 100 of the highest order of warriors in the Mughal forces. So these soldiers would always stay with Lala Beg. The text talks about how they're beautifully decked out in the most exquisite weapons and jewelry. They had very expensive clothing on. They were mounted on top of the finest horses of the area. They're very well built, very tall, very strong. And the text describes them as having very light skin as well. Their heads are shaven, and their diet basically consists of meat only. The clothing that they were wearing, as I mentioned, was very expensive, and these soldiers were constantly in the company of Lala Beg, so they were basically his drinking buddies as well. They would always joke around with Lala Beg. So these are the type of soldiers that were surrounding Lala Beg. They knew all aspects of Shastra Vidya, like martial arts, the science of weapons, from hand to hand to grappling to weapons, bladed weapons to projectiles to tactics to strategy. And they were surrounding Lala Beg as this force then enters the battlefield. And they carve out a space where Lala Beg's eldest son, Qasim Beg, who's killed in the previous episode. So where he was killed, they run to that section, and basically in doing so, because the warriors were so highly skilled, very well trained, they approached that area while shooting out arrows, gunshots. It talks about how these warriors were not afraid at all. They're very courageous. And with their pressure, they were able to push back those Sikh forces around that area. And they were able to get Lala Beg, the main general, close to his son's body. And when Lala Beg then saw his son's body, Qasim Beg, just lying there in the dirt, dead, bloodied, Lala Beg then began to cry. So Lala Beg's attention was wrapped up over the pain of, the death of his eldest son here. And he's crying there, he's looking down. This very experienced veteran warrior of the Sikhs, Jetha. So Jetha is one of a very long-standing Sikh, and his stories come up even in the stories related to Guru Arjan Dev Ji and earlier stories of Guru Hargobind. Very, very senior, long-standing Sikh. So Jetha saw this and saw that there was an opportunity here. So he sped up his horse and came in front of the soldiers of Lala Beg, shooting his arrows out. And in getting close, then he takes out his sword and he starts chopping down the soldiers around Lala Beg. Now these are, again, remember, these are the most experienced Mughal soldiers of the area. And he had hoped that, in cutting down some of the Mughals here, he's going to create a path to the main general, Lala Beg. And he does create a path. He clears a small path out and rides close up to Lala Beg. And he actually gets so close that he strikes down with his sword on Lala Beg, but it clips the helmet of Lala Beg, so it saves him there. Lala Beg sees this, him approaching. He gets it. He quickly turns his horse then and cuts at Jetha. And his cut on Jetha causes a small wound. And as he does this, the other soldiers around Lala Beg then spring into action as well, and they all pounce on Jetha, yelling, kill him, kill him. Some of them were approaching. Some of these warriors were mainly decked out with swords, some had guns, and some had spears as well. And they end up chopping down Jetha's horse in the process. So now Jetha's just on foot, and as I mentioned, Jetha's a very senior veteran warrior of Guru Hargobind. So the text mentioned how he has a white beard. And now he's surrounded from all sides. He's quickly turning from one side to the other, covering his back position. He's basically fighting, in 360 degrees around him. Like he's encircled here. Because he's in the middle of all this, and he has that really white beard, the author mentions it's as if it's like looking up at the moon surrounded by darkness. This is how wonderful and graceful Jetha looked, even in this, heat of battle. So amongst the Mughal soldiers around Jetha, one of them was named Lala Beg. Now Lala Beg had a long spear, and coming close to Jetha, then he stabbed Jetha on the right side of his torso, on the right side of his chest, and it went straight in and out. So Lala Beg then pulls the spear out, and Jetha, having not been hit in the heart, he's able to still fight a little bit, and he jumps at Lala Beg and just chops his head off. And the soldiers around Lala Beg, he also chops them down, a few of them down before being cut down by the Mughal soldiers there. And it mentions that Jetha took out many before, eventually being cut down. And as he's being cut down, he has a smile on his face as he goes into the afterworld. So on the other side of the battlefield, Malik Jati, the Brahmin commander of the Guru's forces, was pressing into the Mughal lines, where another son of Lala Beg was leading forces. His name is Shams Beg. So Malik Jati was shooting arrows in that direction, and he was able to hit actually Shams Beg with one arrow that just goes straight through Shams Beg's body. Malik Jati then rides up closer to Shams Beg. Shams Beg is covering himself with a spear here and kind of retreats a little bit, so he gets out of the range of Malik Jati. But eventually he pulls himself together and he rides back to the front, at which point Malik Jati then gets close and strikes down with his sword. Shams Beg is able to protect himself with his shield on that strike. Malik Jati then quickly turns his horse around. So if you can imagine, when Malik Jati struck down with his sword on Shams Beg, their horses are basically side by side. Shams Beg is able to protect himself with the shield. Malik Jati then turns his horse around, so the back side of his horse is facing Shams Beg's horse, the side of that horse, and then that horse does like this back kick. So the back 2 feet of Malik Jati's horse kicks the horse and kicks Shams Beg, and Shams Beg then incurs an injury on his right leg, sorry. And then Malik Jati quickly turns around again, and as Shams Beg is then tending to his injury on his foot, there's an opening on his upper part of his body. Malik Jati sees this opening and quickly takes a strike to his neck and cuts off Shams Beg's head. And it mentions in the text, just like how one takes kind of like this long stick and knocks off a ripe fruit from a tree by hitting like the branch, like hitting an apple off. In the same way, Malik Jati quickly just was able to just knock off Shams Beg's head, just like it's a fruit falling down. And then Shams Beg's feet are still stuck in the stirrups of the horse. So the stirrups are like where you put your feet when you're on the saddle, and you put your feet in these holders. Those are called the stirrups. So Shams Beg's feet are still stuck on the stirrups. His body's still stuck, and it kind of falls on one side of the horse. The horse now is like hella confused with this like body hanging off of it, so it kind of just runs around and is racing through the different parts of the battlefield. And all the Mughals who are seeing this recognize, oh, that's a really fancy horse. Oh crap, that's the commander's horse. We can see by what he's wearing, his attire, right? So as they see this, their fear is just increased, and they're getting extremely worried. That horse was eventually just running around. It eventually came around where Lala Beg, the main commander, was standing, and this is his youngest son now. He sees who's dead, and seeing that, he recognized, okay, that's the horse, that's the body of my son, and he realizes then that this is my second son who's been killed. And the Mughals around him, those very experienced warriors, are saying, listen, this is what happens in war. Don't dwell on this, stay strong, basically. But at the same time, Lala Beg is just engrossed in this. He just, it's just in the worst of all pains, crying out, that my family's been killed. I didn't know this would happen. I thought the Guru had such a little army. I thought this would be a very quick and easy mission, and he's crying like this. And this is how chapter 52 ends, as Lala Beg is crying. We're going to jump into chapter 53 here as well. So Lala Beg's crying, and there's a guard near him, one of those experienced warriors. He's called Gul Khan. Gul Khan couldn't stand Lala Beg crying like this, and he's giving him advice like, listen, nobody needs to tell you this. You're very smart. You're very experienced. This is what happens to warriors. This is the battle. We live or we die. The end result we shouldn't really care about here, but what we should care about is just maintaining our composure and fighting with bravery and honor here. Like, we can't leave the battlefield. Only cowards do that. For us, our duty here is to stay and fight honorably, such that people, our praise will be spread out through the entire world here and in the next. But nobody needs to tell you this. You're very wise. He's speaking as if a subordinate speaks to his superior. He doesn't want to sound like he's cussing him out. So yeah, he continues to say these type of things like, God's created this world, and all the actions in this world are predestined. We shouldn't cry about what's happening, like your sons are killed. Basically, we have to continue to move forward here, and you'll be continually praised if you continue this fight now, having gone through this tragedy. So Lala Beg hears this, and then he kind of pulls himself together a little bit. There's another soldier there, Faiz Khan. Faiz Khan turns around and gives the same advice, that our strategy here now should be just to go after Guru Hargobind here. That will send shockwaves through the Sikh army if we're able to capture him. So Lala Beg agrees with this and sets out on this mission, basically. So he goes now with his soldiers, and he puts heavy pressure on the lines of the Sikhs, specifically where around Guru Hargobind is. So both sides meet, again they start shouting their battle cries. They're shooting out their rifles, the arrows, and very brutal battle is described here, with people crying, people yelling, blood spilling, people's arms being cut here and there, people being shot in the face. Amongst all this brutality, the horrific sight, Guru Hargobind is watching, and he has a smile on his face. He's extremely happy. He's shooting out arrows into the Mughal lines. As he's doing this, he yells out an order to Jodhrai, telling him personally to pull back and let the lions now battle it out. And he says to him, the end is near. We should provide support from a position further back to help them, shooting them down with bullets and arrows. So Jodhrai agrees. He pulls back. He himself actually is, at this point, he's wounded. So when he pulls back, he receives medical assistance for his wounds. Bidhi Chand also asks Guru Hargobind that, he wants this thing to end. Let me go in. Let me lead the forces. Let me be on the front lines. Guru Hargobind says, no. Definitely do not do that. You're also injured. So stay back here. Receive medical assistance, and let me handle it. Basically, he says that Shah Jahan's forces are here, and let me finish them off. I'm going to press. I'm going to lead the final assault here. So Bidhi Chand and Jodhrai both then say, in a very devotional manner, they say that no one is basically equal to you, Guru Hargobind. Even if the gods and the demons both came to fight you from heaven and hell, with one word you'd be able to destroy them, and in that one word you'd be able to create the whole universe again as well in that one moment. But those who are just people, they don't, those idiots don't recognize your divinity. They don't understand this. So they're praising Guru Hargobind in a very devotional manner here. So at this time, both forces, as I said, were battling each other. The guns are going off, arrows are flying both ways, spears are being thrown and thrusted. Many of them on both sides, many warriors on both sides are now falling. And Guru Hargobind sees this and starts shooting down Mughals with his arrows. So he's shooting these arrows as he's riding with his horse Suhela up to the front lines. And when Guru Hargobind gets to the front lines, Lala Beg, the main commander from Kabul, he sees this, and he's thinking, oh, this is it. My opportunity has come here. I'll be able to kill Guru Hargobind now. So he quickly then shoots some arrows off. Some of those arrows actually hit Guru Hargobind's horse, Sohela. So Guru Hargobind's furious now, and he pulls out a very special wide arrow. Like the tip of this arrow is very wide, and he pulls it back as far as he can past his ear, and he shoots it straight into the forehead of Lala Beg's horse. That was a very expensive horse. He's the top general from Kabul, and it just drops that horse. And the author speaks about how that horse, how the arrow goes straight through that horse. It had so much power. So Lala Beg then quickly jumps off. He's extremely pissed. He shoots back arrows. He shoots back enough arrows. Eventually, a bunch of these arrows hit Sohela again, and eventually drop Sohela. So the text talks about how this horse, what a great fortune this horse had, that it stayed at Guru Hargobind's side while it was living, and then it gave its life beside Guru Hargobind in service. And in doing so, it left all pain, all attachment in this world, and it went to the realm of the gods, never to return again. So meaning it was liberated. So Bidhi Chand then quickly ran to the spot where Guru Hargobind was on foot, and he said, let me supply you with another horse. I'll call an attendant, we'll bring another horse here. Guru Hargobind disagreed with this and said, no, forget it. At this point, now I'm going to battle it out on foot. So he takes his sword out with his shield, and he approaches the Mughal lines there. So another Mughal then steps in front of Lala Beg and begins to charge Guru Hargobind. Lala Beg yells out and says, no, this is mine here. This is my duty here. This is my chance here. And he yells, he gives orders to everybody in the army to step back, stop fighting. And because he's thinking now he's going to duel Guru Hargobind. And Lala Beg's thinking, all right, either I kill him or he kills me. This is my fate. Forget it. Remember, just a couple of verses back at the end of the last chapter, he had just given up. He was just distraught. He was like, my whole family's killed. I didn't think this would be such a disaster. Forget it. At that point, he kind of left all desire to live. He was just like, either this is it. Either I die or I kill Guru Hargobind. So he has that mentality right now that, either he's going to bring back Shah Jahan's horses or whatever. I'm going to give my life right here in this dirt that my family had given their life in. So he tells everybody, all right, step back and now just watch this. Guru Hargobind sees this, sees the orders that he's given. His warriors are pulling back. He sends out the same orders to his soldiers. He says, all right, everybody step back and stop. So now both of these warriors, Guru Hargobind on one side, Lala Beg on the other, are approaching each other. Both of them are geared up. Both of them are pumped up, walking towards each other. Both of the armies on each side are watching their leaders now going at it. Both of these armies have hopes in their leaders that would end this. Both of the warriors are excellent, have been trained for many years, for their entire life on Shastra Vidya, on the battle, on the science of weapons, how to fight. Both of them will be the cause of their victory. And both of them are fighting righteously, like in a fair manner. Both of them are not on horses, both of them are on foot. The text mentions that both of them are like tigers stalking each other, or like massive elephants, insanely strong. And both of them have just a shield and a sword. So enraged, while Lala Beg was just enraged, he just lunges at Guru Hargobind and comes close. He has a very long sword, it describes. Karachol is the name of it. So he comes and strikes down at Guru Hargobind, and Guru Hargobind blocks it with his shield and says, all right, come on, man. Do another strike. What was that? Just do one more strike, because after that, I'm going to finish you off, man. I'm going to put you in this dirt as well. At that point, Lala Beg was just amazed that Guru Hargobind is just he doesn't even care at this point. He's asking him to strike down, right? So he recognizes Guru Hargobind's bravery and that he wants him to do another strike. So he does another strike in vain, like it misses. And Guru Hargobind then approaches very quickly with that strike and lifts up his arm and strikes down. But Lala Beg, with his shield, is able to quickly block it. But then in blocking it, he realizes he's in a vulnerable position, so he just jumps back. And he clears some distance here. Guru Hargobind is like, hey, yells out to him. He's like, what are you doing, you coward? Stand still. Where are you going? Come strike at me. Like, where are you thinking you're gonna run and save yourself? So he basically calls him out. Lala Beg's super pissed when he hears this. He pulls himself together. He starts running at Guru Hargobind again. And in running, he's just striking wildly, striking many times. Guru Hargobind blocks it, positions himself again in a good position, then indicates a strike that he's going to go low on Lala Beg. So Lala Beg sees this feint, like a fake, and he kind of lowers his body. He crouches down, puts his shield down low to protect his leg. Quickly then, Guru Hargobind lifts his sword up and cuts his neck off clean. It's as if the text says like a soap bar being broken in half cleanly. And as Lala Beg's head just falls on the ground, his eyes are remaining open, like looking at Guru Hargobind. And his head falls on the ground. It says like a coconut falling from a tree because of heavy winds. And his body falls on the ground, heavy, like a tall tree being cut down in the forest. So Lala Beg, thinking that he was going to protect his legs, left an opening up top, and Guru Hargobind capitalized on that by cutting his neck off there, his head off. So the text mentions how Lala Beg here lost his head. He died right in front of Guru Hargobind, and in doing so, he was like looking at Guru Hargobind when he died, and because of that, Lala Beg also went to heaven and was liberated in that act. And this is how now chapter 53 ends here. And the next chapter where we're going to pick up speaks about the final components of the battle and Guru Hargobind's victory. And that's where we're going to pick up next time. So we'll see you then.
शरण परेगा ते तरेगा गज गज करा जावे गुरु हरगोबिंद साहब दे मन भावे निहाल हो जावे सत श्री अकाल।